And let's just look at the numbers that we have here today. And with that, it is all about the budget day 2025-2026. And it's matters to do with what has been allocated. How are we going to spend that? Which areas have received more, which ones have received less? And I just want us to look into agriculture sector, because they say agriculture is the backbone of the republic. And agriculture and livestock sector, the budget estimates at 58.2 billion shillings. Now, agriculture is split actually into two. The ministry that is into agriculture and livestock, and 48.3 billion shillings goes into agriculture and livestock, 9.99 billion shillings. Now, under the 2025-2026, now allocation has gone up by 1.1 billion shillings, and the agriculture sector contributes 22.5% of the GDP. A big number there in the agriculture and its role in making our economy continue to grow. And to look at now the education sector. Education sector has received one of the highest highest allocation, and a total allocation of 659.8 billion shillings. Now, free day secondary school has received 54.8 billion shillings. Junior secondary school capitation at 30.9 billion shillings. When we talk about capitation in the education sector, we know how that has been, with capitation not being enough, being delayed. And we also see in this budget 30.9 billion shillings in capitation for junior secondary school. Free primary education 7.9 billion shillings, as well as school feeding program 3 billion shillings. We are receiving reports that these has actually been reduced, but when it comes to Nairobi County, 1 billion shillings has been set aside with regard to school feeding program. Just what exactly does that mean with regard to having more kids go to school? Because then again, reports indicate that statistics show that more children have actually gone to school because of availability of food in school. So with that going down, what effect does that mean to parents and students and the education sector? Now we go to social protection and affirmative action. This is where Pesa ya Wazee, and every other funds that are put into place. Now, total allocation 43.16 billion shillings. Now, let's go deep and just dissect it into several allocations that have been put in. Cash transfer to elderly persons, 25.68 billion shillings. Is that enough? Now, cash transfers to orphans, 8.98 billion shillings, as well as cash transfers to persons with severe disability at 1.5 billion shillings. Begging the question, is this enough to take care of the most vulnerable in the society? With all these allocation in the 2025-2026 budget estimates, will these be enough? These are the numbers, these are the questions that we are dissecting this morning, the whole day today. And still on the social protection and affirmative action, hunger safety net program, 4.91 billion shillings. Remember that in the advent of climate change, we've seen production of food continue to go down. That means more people in the republic are having it difficult to access quality food, not just food, but quality food. Feeding Kenyans there is a priority, and the government has set aside 4.91 billion shillings. Fund for disabled in Kenya, critical mass of the republic, part of the society, has 1 billion shillings. Is this enough to cover the entire population of those with severe disability? We shall be looking into the budget. We shall be having these discussions and just knowing how exactly who's has received more, who has lost, and what does this mean for you and I, the taxpayers of this republic. And this is just but the budget estimates. We look at the national government 2024-2025 financial year, 2.2 trillion shillings. This is the current financial year. But the approved budget for 2025, 2.5 trillion shillings, and revised budget estimates was actually reduced from 2.5 to 2.4 trillion shillings. And we look at the executive receiving 2.1 and approved BPS 2.4, and the revised budget has remained the same at 2.4, but an increase from 2024-2025 from 2.1 to 2.4, and in Parliament 40 billion shillings, man. 40 billion shillings 2024-2025, which had actually been approved to 49 billion shillings, but has been revised to 42 billion shillings, which is an increase by 2 billion shillings from financial year 2024 2025. These are the numbers that we are talking about that the CS Treasury John Mbadi will be presenting to the National Assembly today. You get to have an opportunity of understanding what this means to you. Will the government be getting deeper into your pockets? Only time will tell. But then again, Judiciary 2024-2025 received 22 billion shillings, and we see that the approved is 26 billion shillings, and even the revised 26 billion shillings. So the judiciary has received extra 4 billion shillings. And here we look at consolidated fund services, 1.2 trillion, approved 1.3 trillion. So that means an addition of 0.1 that has been received in the consolidated fund services. And county government, 391 billion shillings. That is the year 2024-2025 financial year. And you look at 2025, the proposal, 405 billion shillings, has been retained at the same 405 billion shillings. Reasonable increase for the county government, and a total of 3.9 trillion shillings. And the approved BPS is 4.3 trillion shillings, which has been revised a little bit down, has been reduced by 0.1 to 4.2 trillion shillings. How are we funding these will be the question. How exactly is John Mbadi and the government at large will be funding these? Will they be coming for your payslip? Will the manufacturing sector suffer the most? We shall be having that discussion in studio from 8 a.m. to 11 p.m. and all the way to 11 p.m. tonight, only on Kenya's bold newspaper, The Standard, and home of the same, KTN, and all other platforms, including the radios. We shall be having that discussion. Remember, you can also have this discussion with us on the socials. That is hashtag KTN News, where we are having this discussion at KTN News KE at Dennis Aseto. We are discussing the budget there. We shall be sampling some of your views on the same. But let's continue now. The health sector has equally received a total allocation of 132.4 billion shillings. Kenyatta National Hospital has received 18.8 billion shillings. Arrears for doctors and health workers, 1.75 billion shillings. This is critical because we've seen, even as we speak at the moment, we know UHC workers have been on the streets demanding that they be paid their agreements and the MOUs they signed with the government, and they have been out of work for close to over 100 years. Not years, for over 100 days. Yes, 100 days. And we hope that with these, perhaps their issues will be settled. And provision for interns, 4.02 billion shillings, another ticket item that KMPDU has been pushing in making sure that the health system, the health care infrastructure in the country continues to work well. And we go again to the health sector. Primary healthcare fund, 13.1 billion shillings. The first point where you get to interact with the health care systems in the country, 13.1 billion shillings. Emergencies, critical illness fund, 10 billion shillings. And the UHC health workers, 4.06 billion shillings. And vaccines and immunizations, 4.62 billion shillings. It is a discussion that we continue to have in the country, as we hope that as the budget is presented today, that Kenyans will have a glimpse of what exactly this means for you and I, for